how NASA astronauts Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore were supposed to, remember, spend only 10 days aboard the International Space Station back in June 2024. But as we all know, there were multiple delays, there were technical snags which caused them to keep being stuck there for a long time now. Even now, they remain on board the ISS orbiting the Earth around 250 miles above the surface. In fact, Sunita and Butch both have set off on the Boeing Starliner spacecraft in June 2024, but the aircraft had a number of issues which made it impossible for them to return after their stipulated mission had ended. Well, the capsule then sustained a helium leak as well before launch and developed 4 more leaks while it was in orbit. Well, this made the thrusters non-functional. NASA engineers have spent months now trying to assess the problem, but have decided to bring the capsule back with no one on board. Well, the 2 astronauts, remember, were due to return to the SpaceX Falcon rocket in February. That will be carrying 4 replacement astronauts, but was first delayed due to critical hydraulic system issue, which took place less than 4 hours before the launch. In fact, the launch was postponed to 14th of March, but was postponed again because of the strong winds and heavy precipitation, which was forecasted along the path of the spacecraft. In fact, they are now scheduled to return sometime before March the 19th on the Falcon rocket that will launch from the Kennedy Space Station in Florida. Well, there is a syndrome, and this is the cause, the reason for great worry right now. There's a syndrome that astronauts experience after extended space travel, which is called baby feet syndrome. Well, this happens as the weightlessness experience in zero gravity causes the formation of a thicker, tougher layer of skin called calluses. Now, this is attributed to the lack of weight-bearing activities in space and a lack of muscle, which is the result of it. The thickened skin on the bottom of your feet naturally develop from walking and standing and gradually softens due to the lack of pressure and friction. So when astronauts return, they might feel pain or tingling when they put their feet on the ground. Baby feet can be taken care of with rehabilitation, with exercises and a gradual reintroduction to gravity. In fact, let's give you a look at the astronauts who will be replacing Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore. Well, NASA astronaut Anne McCain, well, she is a Master Army navigator with over 2,000 flight hours under her belt and has been to the International Space Station before on the ISS expedition 5859. Nicole Ayers is also going to be there, part of NASA, with the assistant director of the 90th Fighter Squadron, and has logged over 200 hours in Operation Inherent Resolve, which was a military operation to fight against the ISIL, and had also done operations in Syria as well as Iraq. Then you have the third one on your screens. You can see Takuya Onishi, who is from Jaha, which is the 3rd member of the crew, and he is one of the first Japanese astronauts on board the International Space Station. He was in fact part of the ISS expedition. Finally, we also have a Russian cosmonaut, Kirill Peskov, who is going to be the 4th person there, the one with the least space flight experience, though. He has 0 hours under his belt, but he was the first officer on Boeing 757 and Boeing 767. While Sunita Williams, of course, has been in space for 284 long days already and still counting. Let's show you some astronauts with the longest space flights in NASA's history. Well, first up, you have Frank Rubio, who by the time his mission ended in September 2023 had spent 371 long days in space. Then there was Mark Van Hey, who had spent 355 days in space. Mark had done 2 ISS expeditions for NASA. In fact, he will now be going across to Scott Kelly also. He is one of the astronauts who spent 340 days in space. He cumulatively had spent more than 520 days in space. This is over 4 different space flights, however. Well, next up is Christina Koch. Well, she had spent 328 days in space. Koch had also conducted 6 spacewalks, and this includes the first 3 of all women spacewalks as well. Well, the last one on the list we want to mention is Peggy Whitson. Well, she had spent 289 days in space. She also served as the chief of the astronaut corps from 2009 to 2012, and she was responsible for the mission preparation activities of all the ISS crews as well. So those are the Goans who are going to be replacing Sunita Williams, hopefully when she returns. But also we got you the list of all the astronauts who have done very long stints. So we are going to be all rooting for Sunita Williams' safe return.